The White House said there's going to be substantial firings starting immediately. Substantial federal workers going to be laid off, not coming back. And they're doing that, they say, to put pressure on the Democrats.
The White House has just announced that they are laying off more federal workers. The White House, not the Democrats. The Democrats don't have the power to do that.
So tell me why, fast forward 6 years, the Trump administration is now saying there is a possibility, there is a chance that federal employees who are furloughed during this shutdown will not get paid, essentially going back on a law he signed himself during his first term. Let's talk about it.
What's happening in America right now feels like deja vu, only worse. Across social media, the words Project 2025 are trending again. And this time, it's not just a warning, it's reality. Russ Vaught, the director of the U.S. Office of Management and Budget, has officially confirmed that RIFs, reductions in force, have begun. That means thousands of federal workers, many of them career civil servants, are about to lose their jobs. This announcement has sent shockwaves through Washington, and the reactions across the country have been nothing short of explosive. Americans, mostly Democrats, but also independents and even a few conservatives, are asking one simple question. Why is the Trump administration destroying more jobs than it's creating? Before we dive deep into this unfolding story, I want to welcome everyone tuning in. To our loyal subscribers, thank you for sticking with us through the noise and chaos. And to our new viewers, welcome to the channel that tells it like it is. We're here to ask the hard questions, uncover the deeper meaning behind political decisions, and make sure you understand how these moves affect ordinary Americans, not just the people in power. Now, right after this short clip, we're breaking down what RIFs mean, why they're happening, and why many people believe this is Project 2025 in full swing. Stay tuned.
We have some very serious news right now. Mass firings across the federal government have begun, according to Russ Vaught, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, who is leading the charge to fire as many federal employees as possible. Now, these firings have hit everywhere from the Department of Commerce, the Department of Education, to Energy, EPA, DHS, HHS, Treasury, HUD, and more, according to PBS News. The AFGE, which is one of the largest unions representing federal employees, has already filed a motion for a restraining order to try to block this from happening, but they are downsizing the federal government as we speak. We're 10 days into a government shutdown, one that looks to last potentially for several weeks, maybe even more months. We'll see what happens, but mass firings across the federal government have begun. These aren't furloughs. These people aren't going to get their jobs back. So this is very significant news. Spread the word. Full updates on my Substack, linked in bio, so subscribe for free. Follow along. As always, to stay updated on all the news that you need to know about, I will have much more to come very soon.
All right, so the headline is that the White House said there's going to be substantial firings starting immediately. Substantial federal workers going to be laid off, not coming back. And they're doing that, they say, to put pressure on the Democrats. Do they forget that everyone knows who's in charge? Republicans control every branch of government. And Trump is on record just before he became president the first time as saying when there's a government shutdown, the blame falls squarely on the shoulders of the president. The president has to negotiate, has to make things happen. This current president, Donnie 2.0, has been busy campaigning to win the Nobel Peace Prize, which he didn't get. Sorry, Donnie. And they somehow want to cast blame on the Democrats who are fighting and holding the line to protect millions of Americans from either losing their health care or having to pay substantial increases in their insurance premiums. What's worse is the Republicans keep constantly lying about that the Democrats are doing this because we Democrats want free health care for illegal immigrants. They keep saying that. No Democrat is saying that. Republicans are saying that we're saying that. They're just lying to your face. And now they're screwing loyal workers. This is going to hurt everybody, but mostly it's going to hurt, well, I don't know if it's mostly, but it's definitely going to hurt Republicans.
The White House has just announced that they are laying off more federal workers. The White House, not the Democrats. The Democrats don't have the power to do that. Russell Vaught, head of OMB, author of Project 2025, is doing exactly what he said he would do in Project 2025. They have fired federal workers before, and they will continue to fire federal workers. This has nothing to do with the shutdown. They're just using that as an excuse to punish Americans. It's been reported that Homeland Security and Health and Human Services will see layoffs. There are Democrats, Republicans, independents, and everyone in between that works for the federal government and benefits from these programs. This has nothing to do with the shutdown. The president is looking to punish American citizens. That is who is responsible for these layoffs. He's making the decision. He's the one in power. Not the Democrats. The Republicans own the House, the Senate, and the White House. This is on them.
So let's talk about what's actually going on. Russ Vought, who's been a key figure in the conservative movement's long-term government overhaul plans, has announced that the federal workforce is officially undergoing RIFs, short for Reduction in Force. In plain terms, it means mass layoffs. Entire departments could be trimmed, downsized, or outright gutted. Vaught's justification? Restructuring government to make it leaner and more efficient. But critics say that's just political language for purging the federal system of employees who don't align with Trump's agenda, especially those hired under previous Democratic administrations. And the timing couldn't be more controversial. The economy is already under strain. States like Nebraska and Montana are facing bankruptcies. Farmers are suffering from tariffs. Construction and agriculture industries are reeling from ICE raids. And now, federal jobs, some of the most stable in the country, are on the chopping block. Online, Americans are calling this the first major implementation of Project 2025. If you're not familiar, Project 2025 is a conservative roadmap for reshaping the federal government, reducing its size, firing deep state workers, and replacing them with loyalists. To many Democrats and independents, it feels less like reform and more like a power grab. On X and TikTok, hashtags like Project 2025, RIFs, and federal jobs are trending. One user wrote, quote, "Trump said he'd drain the swamp. Turns out he's draining Americans' paychecks." Another posted, "Federal workers are Americans too. They pay taxes, they raise families. This isn't about the deep state, this is about people losing their livelihoods." Even some conservatives are uneasy. They say firing experienced professionals in key agencies could weaken government performance, from disaster response to education to healthcare. And let's not forget, Russ Vought isn't just any bureaucrat. He's one of the architects behind Project 2025 itself. The fact that he's the one announcing RIFs, that's why so many Americans believe this isn't a coincidence, it's a calculated move.
The plot thickens. Mass firings have now begun in the government shutdown. So Russ Vought, the one who is running the budget office, says substantial firings of federal workers are carrying out right now. It's called RIF firings, Reduction in Force firings. They're trying to do this to draw the Democrats back to the negotiating table. So not only do we have the military not getting paid now next week, Wednesday is their payday, there's no funding to pay them, but they are now beginning to do mass firings to try to draw the Democratic side of the party to the table to come and negotiate some sort of deal to get the government back open. So we are heading into the weekend, which means we're looking at another couple days of the government being shut down and funding not being available. We're already seeing airports grinding to a halt, multiple delays on every airport, some of which are even shuttering services throughout the day. You then have this. Mass firings are happening in the government right now to try to draw all the Democratic Party back to the table. Trump says when some of these would happen, as they've been talking about, they're going to be permanent. So we'll see what happens. But right now, they're doing mass firings. I'll let you know what happens.
Breaking news from the Associated Press. They are reporting that the budget office says there are substantial firings of federal workers that have already started as the White House is exerting the shutdown leverage. Now there's already 1.3 million military service members missing a paycheck next week as the federal government shutdown continues, and the Senate has left town after late night votes on Thursday. that did not amount in anything. So this Trump government shutdown will continue. And this is the third government shutdown in 12 years. And the House Democrats will be in D.C. next week, even as the Republicans have left town. Clearly, the Republican-led shutdown of this government is going to really hurt American families, troops not getting their paycheck, families suffering.
After the government shutdown during his first term, Donald worked with Democrats to pass the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act of 2019, which basically ensured that government employees, federal employees who were furloughed during the shutdown would receive back pay after the shutdown ended. So tell me why, fast forward 6 years, the Trump administration is now saying there is a possibility, there is a chance that federal employees who are furloughed during this shutdown will not get paid, essentially going back on a law he signed himself during his first term. Let's talk about it. Initial documents providing federal employees with information about the shutdown and when they can receive pay. Initial guidance included that government employees, federal employees, whether they were furloughed or still working during the shutdown, all employees would receive pay after the shutdown ended. The specific language that they used in that documentation was retroactive pay will be provided on the earliest date possible after the lapse ends, regardless of scheduled pay dates. That was the language provided in the initial document on September 30th. That language, however, has been updated with that sentence being removed. The OMB's revised language, however, is not resonating with the OPM's language. OPM stands for Office of Personnel Management, and their language, which was updated on September 28th, still reflects that furloughed workers will be provided back pay at the conclusion of the lapse. As you can imagine, this is being met with backlash, with Senator Tim Kaine going as far as to threaten legal action if this administration follows through on the newly minted legal interpretation, basically saying that federal employees, if they are furloughed, they will not be paid for the shutdown. Okay, come on, Senator Kaine. He said if the OMB chooses thuggish intimidation tactics over following the law, it better be prepared. It better prepare to face the American people in court. I know that's right, Senator Kaine. The shutdown is still ongoing with no seeming end in sight. So this is a developing story, which I'm sure we will receive more news and information within the coming days. However, the last word that we received from the White House was President Trump saying that he would select which furloughed federal employees would receive back pay while denying it for others. So there's that.
At the end of the day, this isn't just about job cuts. It's about the soul of the American government. When thousands of workers are fired in the name of efficiency, the question becomes, efficiency for who? The people or the politicians in power? As rifts continue to roll out in the coming days and weeks, the human cost will become clearer. Families will lose income, communities will feel the strain, and America, once again, will be forced to ask if the promise to make America great again is worth the price of tearing down the very system that keeps it running. So what do you think? Is this just bureaucratic restructuring, or is it the start of Project 2025 taking full control? Let's hear from you in the comments below. Your voice matters, especially now when silence is what those in power are counting on. And as always, shout out to all the creators, journalists, and everyday Americans documenting this moment. Your work keeps truth alive. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Because this story, it's just beginning.